So I can finally talk about it. This is the Pimax Dream Air SE full review. I've had this headset for nearly a month. I've tested it in various flight sims such as DCS World, X-Plane 12 and of course MSFest 2024. And in this video, as always, you're going to get my full unfiltered review. Pimax did send me this headset, but it makes no difference to my opinion, as you'll also see in this video. So with that being said, let's just quickly talk about the specification, what this actually is, who it's for perhaps, as we unbox the headset. So this is a Micro OLED, very small form factor VR headset with inside out tracking. It is a wide headset, as you can see here, with this breakout box, and everything basically is exactly the same as the flagship Dream Air in terms of its housing, the stems, the form factor, everything. The resolution though is what is different, as well as the lenses. We have 2560 per eye with a refresh rate of 72 Hz or 90 Hz upscaled. The optics are pancake lenses with a concave element inside. Interesting, I'll talk about that a bit more later. This also has Tobii eye tracking and possibly even hand tracking coming with the SLAM version, which you'll see in here. And those cameras you saw, that's the tracking cameras, which means you don't need base stations or anything like that, which is great. The audio is the same integrated spatial audio as the flagship Dream Air. And in terms of price, well, the Lighthouse version is $899 USD. The SLAM version with controllers, which you've also just seen, which is included with this particular unit, is $1,119 USD. So it is very aggressively priced. And what I mean by that is it's very good value on the surface. And this hopefully is the affordable high-end VR headset we've been waiting for a long time. But is it? Is it really that? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you, and we'll get right into that after a quick word from our sponsor. A huge shout out to VR Wave for sponsoring and supporting this channel. They do produce the best lens inserts that I've come across for a full range of VR headsets that include HTC, of course Pimax, which you're looking at right now, as well as the Quest, Valve, PSVR 2, you get the idea. And the great thing about lens inserts is they help keep your lenses free from scratches, but also they do account for astigmatism if you're nearsighted or farsighted. And with blue light filters, they also help combat motion sickness and insomnia. So make sure to check out my 5% discount in the description below. So the Pimax Dream Air SE is really hoping to fill that void the Reverb G2 left many years ago. I'm hoping that this is going to be Micro OLED for all with a really decent price point. But there are some real issues here I have to tell you about. So let's start with the facial interface, which is absolutely awful. Now this is not the final version, but I can't believe Pimax have not yet sent me the official version yet, especially when it's being demoed in some of their events recently, but they're not ready yet. So I'm having to improvise a little bit. This is the studio form kit, which I would recommend getting anyway. The field of view figures though are pretty shocking. With this, I'm only getting 87 degrees horizontal. This is a tiny field of view, folks, no doubt about it. I was quite surprised with that. Now, there is a bit of an issue here that I think might be causing this. Pimax, would you believe, have not calibrated some of these initial review units, and that might even extend to incorrect IPD adjustment. So with 65, which is supposedly what I'm getting here, I'm actually only getting 80 degrees horizontal and 80 degrees vertical with the official mask. But as I say, that's going to be changed very soon. And to further complicate this, well, I've actually upped my IPD to 68, which feels better for my eyes. And I tested this with, would you believe, another facial interface that Pimax sent me. But this one is a prototype. It's not even going to be used as the final version, but I thought I'd show you my figures anyway. I'm getting 92 degrees horizontal. And you can see here, that's the overlap, which admittedly is quite good for this type of headset and lens design. There's no doubt about it, the field of view, regardless of whatever facial interface you use, we can deduct that it is pretty damn small. And if we have a look at the HMDQ settings, you can see the total rendered field of view is 104 degrees horizontal and 93 degrees vertical, with an overlap of around 80 degrees. Hopefully you can see why I'm getting frustrated here, because I'm trying to give you a full conclusion and review, yet Pimax haven't even sorted out their facial interface yet, and there are issues with the units they've sent out to reviewers which have not been calibrated correctly. What on earth were they thinking? I've no idea, but that's the situation I find myself in, so all I can do is give you all the facts at the time of this recording, and as I say, I think no matter what the situation is, the field of view of this headset is very, very tiny. And I think already, hopefully by now, you're getting a theme of the video here. This headset is not ready for prime time. It needs at least 3 to 6 months more research and development, and it's been rushed out. But let's move on because there's lots more to talk about. In terms of the build quality though, that has been improved. The housing feels a bit more solid, and overall I really like the look of it with the white stems. Sadly though, here comes another gripe. It has the same splitter box as the flagship Dream Air, and it gets hot, it gets annoying at the back of your neck. It's an awful design, I hate it with a vengeance, and I hope one day Pimax might change it, but I've heard nothing yet. Now, for the next part of the review, I'm going to give you my raw first impressions of using the headset for the very first time. Right then folks, so you join me for this segment of the video as I've just put this headset on for the very first time. And I always say you can't get those emotions back, those first impressions. So here they are. Of course, this is part of a full review. I won't take too long with this since I am quite aware of this panel anyway. I've used it in the Big Screen Beyond version 2. So yeah, it's interesting to be in the Pimax Dream Air SE with these same panels, but look at this. I immediately, appreciate, I've got one here actually, it's just this controller down to my side, there it is. But I do appreciate inside out tracking and controllers. You get both of those things with this headset, which is a first. In fact, this is probably the very first headset that is a 2.5K per eye Micro OLED with inside out tracking for this price point. Now, I'm using the microphone of the Dream SE, but my first impression straight away are that this display looks really good. It looks really good, and I am hoping that this is going to be the new Reverb G2 of its era, Finally, we can have Micro OLED for all, or for at least most people that can afford this style of headset, because it is still expensive, but really it's not for what you're getting, especially when you consider inside-out tracking, which at the moment, it feels pretty good. I mean, obviously, I'm not the channel to be checking out the tracking and its full capabilities. I'm not going to play Beat Saber on this channel, unless you want to see Melissa doing it, maybe. But but look, I mean, for this and for first-person shooters, tracking is absolutely spot on, and I do appreciate that. I also like how with these controllers I can use the virtual desktop function, so I can check my recording and that kind of thing. This is the raw first impressions of this headset. Just looking here at the scenery, at the cockpit, the gauges, the sky, this looks fantastic. This looks really, really good, and the eye tracking is also working very, very well. Let's talk about glare. So I do see a little bit of glare at the bottom, but it's not that massive. It's not a deal breaker for me at all. At the moment, I'm not seeing any glare now. It goes in and out. I think it all depends on the lighting conditions. Now let's just quickly talk about the sky, because that's important in a Micro OLED headset, simply because you do not get any mirror. That is the inconsistencies between the brightness of each pixel. It is perfectly uniform. What I do see though, I do see one tiny little dead pixel. That's something that unfortunately is quite inherent with this display. That's something I have not experienced with any of the Sony 4K Micro OLED displays. So that is something that might be a bit of an issue for them with the quality control. But someone like me, I know what to look for, okay? And I'll tell you the whole story. And as I look at the sky, which is a very good way of looking for dead pixels, I can see just one little speck, a tiny little speck. That is a dead pixel. So I personally feel this is going to be more common in this type of display. So another thing I want to mention is, even though I've only been flying for 10 minutes, there is a little bit of heat coming out these displays, which again is the same as the Beyond 2. Although there's a nice bit of air going out of this fan system with the design of this headset, so that should hopefully mitigate this. In terms of brightness, it's okay. It's not as bright as the Sony 4K Micro OLED displays. That's another thing that is pretty obvious. So it's not as bright. Field of view, for whatever reason, doesn't feel as good as the Dream Air. I keep saying Dream Air. This is the Dream Air, but this is the SE. I'm talking about, when I just say Dream Air and not SE, that's the top one. Pimax, I would have preferred it if you had a better naming system between these. Anyway, let's just try a night scene. This is just my first impressions, and I'll get back to the main review. I don't want this to be very long. So, immediately, it's business as usual for Micro OLED. This looks absolutely stunning. And in terms of glare, I'm going to have to do a bit of an A-B comparison here, and, you know, go and try the same exact scene with the Beyond 2 and then with this. But I don't see any glare in this scene here. There is no glare, even though this is night time and I've got this panel glaring at me like this. Interestingly, I don't see any glare. And Micro OLED visuals, you know, I'm kind of getting used to them now, so I'm not going to be so wowed by it as I was when I first tried it, but you will be. If you've never tried Micro OLED before, folks, you are in for the most insane experience, because nighttime is just proper inky black night. It is absolutely beautiful. I feel like I'm not maxing out this field of view, but yeah, there is a bit of colour fringing, and that's kind of it really, folks. In terms of performance, it's insane because the resolution is a lot lower, more manageable. So what I'm going to do now is test this headset for a full week in different experiences, and now future Steve is going to tell you in this video the full conclusion and whether this headset could be for you or not. So with that being said, in the great words of Top Gear, it's back to the studio. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. If you didn't watch it, that's absolutely fine, but I like to show my raw first impressions. It's been nearly a month since I made that video, and now it's time to give you my full verdict and conclusion. So again, let's talk about the resolution. It's 2560 per eye. I will completely disagree with Martin's video on the Pimax official YouTube channel that he said it's 80% of the experience of the flagship Dream Air. No, it's not. Not even close, actually. I would say it's probably 40-50%, which makes sense since it is a lot more money. Something that's a bit sneaky, Pimax Play automatically sets the resolution to 200% super sampling with a 5090. So obviously at 200% super sampling, the panel looks absolutely phenomenal, but you get a lot worse performance than a flagship Dream Air native resolution. And it still doesn't look as good, in my opinion. In terms of the lenses, they are exactly the same as the big screen Beyond 2. That means you get a fantastic sweet spot. It really is very, very good. But you do get glare, and in some cases it can be quite jarring at the bottom of the display. Keep that in mind. Other times though, glare will not be there at all. But overall, the lenses are very nice. The binocular overlap is also okay. It's better than the big screen Beyond version 2, which is around 75%. But the field of view figures do suffer for it, and it is a very tiny field of view, especially horizontally. Now, the headset being the same design as the Dream Air flagship version, it means you get the same audio, Although the microphone is definitely different, it doesn't sound as good for some reason. The splitter box is a massive pain point, and of course the facial interface is rubbish as well. I hate it. Can't wait to try the official version. But even with the community out there, there's 3D printed options available. I'll show you now one from Z Flyboy, a valued member of my Discord. He has created some amazing gaskets together with this Studio Form foams, which I do have a 5% discount in the notes below. It really transforms the comfort, and with my actual Dream Air, you can see here I've also added a Apple Vision Pro head strap. That's made it insanely comfortable. You could do that with the Dream Air SE with a little bit of modding, so I highly recommend that. Let's talk about performance, which is a bit of a disappointment. At times I am reaching native frames per second with my 5090. But the way I see it, if you have a 5090, go for the flagship Dream Air with those Sony 4K displays. They are so much better, guys. They really are. I can do a comparison if you're interested, but the difference is huge. So really, ideally, this VR headset is pitched for people who want more of an affordable option. So here I've done a test with a Intel 1440 OF CPU with a 5070. This particular PC is absolutely beautiful, I must say, and this is by Stormforce, which I often show on the channel. I'm a massive fan of their PC systems. I've used them for probably over 10 years, even before I was a YouTuber. This particular system is £1,400, and with my discount it'll be even less than that. My goodness me, all these discounts on this channel, I do look after you, don't I? But anyway, this is 90% of the resolution in TAA mode whilst recording. As you can see, I did expect a bit more. Bear in mind, we're at 72 Hertz here, so we only need half of that to get a reasonable performance. The only thing is though that I found, I prefer 75 Hertz with the big screen beyond, because half of that feels a lot smoother than half of 72. Usually at half the refresh rate of the headset it feels quite smooth, but not with the Dream Air SE for some reason. Also, smart smoothing is something that is completely broken in the SE at the moment. It doesn't work very well at all unless you are above 60 frames per second. Interestingly, a similar scene here with the crystal light at 80% of the resolution actually looks better in terms of the sharpness, and I'm getting better performance. So I just thought I'd throw that in there, but I might do a more in-depth test and comparison of the crystal light versus the Dream Air SE very soon. And if you are on a budget, and I would recommend this PC system, it is fantastic. I've been testing it now for quite a few weeks, shown it on the channel quite a lot, and it's been an absolute pleasure using it. Before I forget, there is some colour fringing with this particular panel. Keep in mind in terms of persistency and motion blur, well, it's not as bad as the big screen beyond, only because it doesn't get as bright. You could absolutely max out the big screen beyond version 2 and 1 and it looks brighter and trade persistency. But if you have the same brightness on both headsets with the Pimax Play software and the big screen beyond, then it's exactly the same. And that's really it, really. The display, lenses, everything is exactly the same as the Beyond 2, apart from the field of view, which in the Beyond 2 is a lot more. I'm getting 108 degrees horizontal. I will do a dedicated comparison video of the Dream Air SE and Big Screen Beyond version 2 very soon, so look out for that. So overall, I could carry on and talk about more things, but I honestly don't recommend this headset. I really don't. It's not ready for prime time. At the time of this recording, it just feels like a late prototype. It needs more time in the oven. I don't understand why Pimax has released this. It is absolutely not ready. I hate the splitter box on both Dream Airs. I can't stand the facial interface, which is not ready yet either. There are some people out there that have already got their Dream Air SEs, and quite a number of them are having issues with the cable and stems, which are failing already. I personally don't like the small field of view, and that's saying something considering field of view is not something that I prioritize personally. And if I've done a session that's longer than 1 hour, I feel eye strain with this headset. It's quite uncomfortable over a long session. And I do wonder if that's because my unit still hasn't been calibrated correctly, or the IPD is not really showing the correct values. And I do think to myself, if it's like this for my headset, how bad is it going to be for the consumer headsets that are being made in batches? And it's such a shame because this headset could have been an absolute hammer blow for the affordable high-end PC VR sector. This could have been the Reverb G2 replacement, but it's just not, guys. It really isn't. Not at this point anyway. And I really hope Pimax takes this feedback seriously and improves these areas, because they could be a chance for this headset in the long term. Now, to be as balanced as I possibly can, the things I do love about this headset, well, of course, it's the form factor. I think the tracking is fantastic, especially for my use case anyway. I really do like the edge-to-edge clarity. The sweet spot just feels very nice indeed. And of course, the eye tracking works perfectly out of the box. And for a change, I can actually say there's no warping that I can detect. The price is on point. The image quality is beautiful, especially if you super sample it. It really does shine and looks very sharp indeed. But I do wonder whether this 72Hz could be a contributing factor of why I'm getting eye strain after about an hour. Oh, so frustrating, folks. Pimax nearly did it, but in my opinion, this headset has been rushed out far too early. If things do change, I will definitely update you. I might even do some comparison videos for those who are still interested in this headset. But like I say, the Dream Air SE at the moment does not get my recommendation. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to subscribe and I'll see you again very soon. Take care and bye for now.